Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest version of Tales from Outer Space, where I take an HFY story from somewhere around the internet and read it aloud for your enjoyment. All the relevant links are down below. Like, subscribe, and all that YouTube comf to help this video and channel grow. Anyways, as always, I hope that you enjoy. I would just like to thank the following Tier 5 patrons and channel members for supporting the channel: Datamagnet and Bob the Dragon. Thank you again. And now, on to the story. Dial a Human, written by PodgeWrites. Chorus uncoiled a tentacle and pressed the ignition switch one last time, hoping against all reason that the issue with his transport's engines would have fixed itself. The hydrogen-fueled motor sputtered once, twice, and then went silent. The same myriad warning lights continued to flash merrily across the dashboard. A few new ones had joined in. Chorus sighed morosely and pulled himself from the vehicle. Outside, the sky of a Mach 4 was the bright azure, but the twin suns were beginning to set, and Chorus was reminded that the night was not very far away at all. "Any luck?" asked Morla, his mate and the only other sapient being on the planet. She stepped out from behind the car's storage area and handed Chorus an open pack of rations. Chorus reddened with shame. "I'm afraid not," he explained, kicking a broad rubber tires of the supposedly highly reliable vehicle. "The primary power coupling is not responsive in the least. I don't think that we'll be moving it by ourselves." The admission was painful for Chorus. After all, it was he who dragged Mona outside of the relative safety of the lander's sensors and point defense range, all in the name of excitement. Their trip had admittedly been thoroughly enjoyable, up to the point where, an hour or so ago, the ground transport's engines had abruptly stopped just as they were cresting the top of a rather beautiful hill, covered in soft purple ground-hugging plant native to the planet. "Where does that leave us?" asked Mola. "Well, there is always walking," suggested Chorus, but he wasn't being serious. The lander was a good 3 hours away by vehicle, which translated to more than a day of hard slog that neither of the pair realistically had the experience to undertake safely. "You're not serious," declared Mola, missing Chorus's little joke. "There'll be food for the Borsa come nightfall." The Borsa were the planet's answer to apex predators, with more teeth than claws and more claws than teeth, as Mola had described them when they first encountered. "Of course I'm not serious," spat back Chorus, his nerves beginning to fray. "But what's the alternative? We could call for a pickup, but it'll be weeks before we can expect help. I don't know about you, but I don't have those kind of credits just lying around." "Calm down," demanded Mola. "We'll figure something out. What about the teleporter? Could we dial in the parts you need? I've seen your duty spec. You're cleared for light vehicle repair, right?" Chorus felt the anger from a moment ago fade from him, and the intense feeling of shame return. He knew his little secret would come up from the moment the engines gave out. He had put off telling Mola for long enough. She'd understand. He was sure. Not exactly," began Chorus, looking shameful. "I put that down on the grant application to meet the university's minimum safety requirements for field work. I don't really know a fuel intake from something that isn't a fuel intake." Chorus relaxed, relief flooding through him at having finally come clean. Some time later, after the screaming had stopped, Chorus gingerly removed the bandages from his foretentacle and applied a second round of disinfectant to the wounds Mola's thrown bag of hot rations had made. One could never be too careful on unexplored worlds, after all. Mola still regarded him angrily, but he could see concern beginning to creep back into her face. The shadows were growing long. Night would soon be upon them. "What about the teleporter then?" Mola asked again. "Let's dial in a—" "I already told you," exclaimed Chorus. "I don't know what to do with the parts. Hydrogen is explosive, you know. We can kill ourselves trying to fix that thing." He gestured at the broken vehicle with his good bandage. "Would you kindly shut up and listen for a moment?" shot back Mola. I was going to say, let's dial in a human. Chorus shot up from his seat, a folding canvas chair brought in anticipation of a now-forgotten picnic. A human? He screeched. Do you know how unethical that is? What if someone found out? Not that would matter. We'd know, and that's more than enough. They don't think it's unethical. The humans don't mind at all, answered Mola, the panic now beginning to edge in her voice. In the distance, Chorus heard the plaintive cry of some alien animal. Probably a hungry one, he thought bitterly. It should be illegal, snapped Chorus. But it is not, Mola shot back. By the elders, Mola, you sound like an apologist. We can't do that. It's bad as murder. It is murder. I don't care how the humans see it, but the Balsa can eat us, for all I care. Some 30 minutes later, after the two researchers had fended off the first Balsa attack with the aid of a couple of stowed-away hunting lasers, Mola found herself bandaging up Chorus's other tentacle. You're lucky I didn't lie about my first aid training, you idiot, she said, but her voice was devoid of any real anger. But that was very brave of you. Nice shot, too. Chorus shrugged his shoulders, but winced at the pain the move elicited. It's nothing, he replied, not believing for a moment that it was anything other than the most amazing thing he'd done in his entire life. Then he remembered the teeth and the claws, but also the teeth, and shuddered. You know, began Chorus, I think it might be a good idea to dial that human now. The gift of teleportation technology was possibly the most interesting and civilization-changing event of first contact between humanity and the galactic civilization at large. Certainly, the advent of clean fusion power changed human economic activity in a fundamental way, but teleportation was a revolution in and of itself. A simple exploitation of quantum physics and an n-dimensional space. The technology itself had been condensed into a deceptively simple-looking plate about 1 meter square. Any transmat, as they were called, could send or receive matter to any other operating within the same transmission protocols, instantly and over any distance, in complete violation of both relativity and preservation of mass and energy. It was a scientific miracle, and one used galaxy-wide for the movement of goods. Humanity, however, put it to uses that, to the galaxy at large, were as disturbing as they were useful. Taming the Dawn, Chapter 2, page 96, Garlax et al., GS 2216. Patricia Bolton had been a lot of things in her life. Variously, a pilot, bodyguard, bartender, and even briefly, and regrettably, a farmer. But she was quite sure that her current job was by far the most satisfying that she'd ever had. Dial-a-Mechanic was the brainchild of a couple of Silicon Valley engineers who had started the late-to-the-party social networking firm, but transitioned into teleportation applications pretty much immediately after first contact. While everyone else was busy sending humans around Earth, her bosses looked outward to the bigger markets. For her part, Patricia enjoyed traveling, enjoyed meeting strange new people in strange new places, and she enjoyed working with her hands. The frankly absurd pay didn't hurt either. For reasons she still didn't quite understand, aliens paid through their nose for this kind of service. Hell, they practically insisted on it. Patricia had been doing it for years now, had more than enough cash squared away, but she'd seen no reason to quit just yet. She enjoyed the work, and in the back of her head entertained the notion that someday she'd jump to a world that charmed her so much she'd just stay there and have her fortune wired to whatever the locals used as a bank. Looking around, Patricia was quite certain that today was not that day. The world that she had just teleported to stank heavily of ammonia, and she was glad with the company-issued rebreather. The transmat was smart enough not to send you into any environment that was really dangerous, but sometimes its definition of habitable environment was somewhat suspect. "Hi," she chirped cheerily to the two tentacled quadrupeds that stood before her. "My name's Patricia, but you can call me Pat. How can I be of assistance today?" She was long past the point where any alien could face her in appearance alone, and these two were far from the weirdest that she'd ever seen. They looked injured, however, which did give her pause. Besides the two, their relatively standard-looking ground car smoked ominously. "Folks, if you need a medic, I can pop back and bring someone back with me," she asked. "No!" they both screamed at once. Patricia took a step backwards. She also took note that one of the two appeared to be armed. "We mean," said the injured one, "I'm not that badly injured. It's nothing. Please, just look after the car. There's no need to bring anyone else through." "It's lovely to meet you, by the way," said the other, the translator giving her voice a sweet and charming overtone. Sure," replied Patricia. Aliens are so weird, she thought, but kept it to herself. "So what seems to be the problem?" Chorus and Mola regarded the human nervously as it worked. The pale creature had begun expertly disassembling the vehicle, and was in the process, presumably, of locating and fixing the fault. "We can't let her leave," said Chorus, careful to mute the microphone of his translator so that the human wouldn't understand. "You know that, don't you? We must stop her. It's the only ethical thing to do." "We can't just kidnap her, Chorus. If she wants to go, she'll go," Mora replied. "We could break the transmat," suggested Chorus. "That way she'd have to come with us." "They carry a spare. We'd just be out of a transmat," explained Mola. "Sorry, Chorus. There is no stopping this. We've already gone too far." A short while later, Patricia had set up some lighting around the vehicle, located the problem, a cracked fuel mix regulator, and had one of her colleagues transmit her the part. She'd been about to go back to the part herself. After all, it was usually easier to locate when you knew exactly what you were looking for, and the transmat meant her workshop was practically just a few feet away. But the two aliens had stopped her. "Please, just get someone to send it to you," begged the one who had introduced himself as Chorus. "You can do that, right? You know the part number. Please, this is bad enough as it is." Patricia didn't understand what they were getting at, but she acquiesced to the request. The customer was always right, after all, and she had found the best to just play along with most alien customs. After all, she imagined humanity probably had their own weird tics that they were just as blind to. Within the hour, she had the part installed, the engine recalibrated, and everything back to running again. Some small furry creatures had inexplicably attacked her in the middle of it all, but they had fled after Patricia kicked one into the nearby ravine. She felt bad about it, but the thing's claws had almost ruined her pants, and the two aliens had looked ready to offload 0.5 gigawatt of lasers on the poor things. So all in all, her boot was probably saved the creature's life. Well, other than the one in the ravine. "Well," said Patricia, patting her hand on the now purring vehicle, "I think you're good to go. You folks need anything else tonight?" No, the one called Mola said. "That's it. But please, would you like to come with us? We have a ship not far from here, and I'm sure that we could get you back to Earth some other way." Patricia laughed. "Lady, Earth is over 200 light years from this planet. It would take years to get back. I'd get written up for sure." She was joking about the last part, but still, the offer had made her curious about something. "Listen," she said, "I've been doing this job for nearly a decade now, and every so often I meet someone like you who offers to give me a lift back the slow way, or seems really upset that they've hired me at all. Some even offer me money to stay. What's up with that? Do you guys get attached easily, or something?" Chorus and Mola regarded each other, then turned to the human. Chorus pointed at the transmat. "Do you know how that works?" he asked. Sure," answered the human. "I'm not up to the precise physics, but basically you get in one end and come out the other." "That's not it," explained Chorus. "It's not a doorway. The device renders your molecular structure into energy and transfers it via quantum superposition to a new location." The creature seemed distraught, as though it had just confessed to murder. "Oh," said Patricia. "Yeah, I remember that from orientation. So?" "So," asked Mola. So it destroys the matter you're made of and reforms different matter in the exact copy of you at the other end. There's a discontinuity of experiential existence that's philosophically identical to murder. Now, both creatures were waving their tentacles in counterclockwise motions, while simultaneously discharging a yellowish liquid from pustules around their mouths. Her translator helpfully informed Patricia this horrific act constituted their equivalent of crying. "Oh," Patricia said again. I see. Well, that's very, sad. If you could just sign this, I'll be on my way." "Don't you see?" cried Chorus. "We killed you to fix our car, and when you go, we'll have killed you again. Gods, I wish the Pulsar had eaten us so that we could have died with a clear conscience." I'm so sorry, sobbed Mola, between tentacled wave convulsions. I didn't mean, I think there would be like this. "Didn't you ever wonder why humans are the only species in the galaxy to use transmat to send actual people anywhere?" asked Chorus. "It was invented on a dozen worlds, and all recognized it was essentially an execution device, very useful for goods and commerce. But for travel, only humans lack the innate philosophical sense to recognize it for what it is. You don't even know what you're doing to—" "Listen," cried Patricia, "how about you shut the hell up? I can see that this is very upsetting for you, but please, I'm fine." She turned about to demonstrate this fact. "How about we all calm down and you two sign the damned receipt?" She thrust the clipboard at the aliens, careful to avoid getting any of the thick yellowish tears on the paperwork. The two creatures slowed their tentacle twirling to a comparably sedate rate, and eventually one of them was coaxed into signing. Before she left, Patricia did her best to convince the two that she wasn't about to commit elaborate suicide, but there was no convincing them. One insisted on keeping her name tag as a memento, and the other was busy arranging some rocks into a makeshift memorial to place it on. Patricia was only too pleased to leave the pair behind, and quickly made her way back towards the transmat. As she left, she heard the two break into sobbing once more, and what sounded suspiciously like a funeral dirge. Back on Earth, one of Patricia's co-workers eyed her curiously. "You okay, Patricia?" he asked. "Penny for your thoughts." "Oh, it's nothing," she replied contemplatively. "I just, do the transmats ever make you feel a bit weird? Like you're not quite yourself? Like you're missing something? Or you've forgotten something?" Patricia gazed deeply into the bottle of light beer she opened, and considered her latest trip to an alien world. "She," Chorus cried, raising the bottle of inebriant he'd opened as soon as they returned to the lander. "She was one hell of a mechanic." "I know what you mean," replied Mola. "How desperate their race must be to throw their lives away so often. Patricia Bolton," she intoned, holding the name tag in one tentacle. "We'll never forget." Mola was cut off by a flash of light and the hum from the transmat. "Hi," Patricia said to the two shocked figures. "I almost forgot. Please take this coupon for 10% off your next use of Human. Have a nice day." She waved jovially at the unmoving aliens as she stepped back through the device again, chuckling to herself quietly. How had she almost forgotten the voucher? End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you do, please consider supporting the author, even by popping over and leaving a thumbs up or a nice comment, just to show your appreciation for the story. However, if you wish to support this channel, there are links down below which will help immensely. I will see you all in the next one, and until then, I hope that you have a fantastic day. Cheers.